Hey there, it's Obi-Wan Kenobi, and today we're reviewing set number 75333, Obi-Wan Kenobi's Jedi Starfighter. This set came out in 2022 at a retail price of $29.99, has 282 pieces, and 3 minifigures. Now, LEGO's released several other versions of this ship previously, starting with the original Jedi Starfighter back in 2002, just after the release of Attack of the Clones. This one had only 138 pieces and only 1 minifigure. This early rendition had to last us for quite some time, though, because it took 8 years before we got an updated version. In 2010, we got the first and only Ultimate Collector Series Obi-Wan's Jedi Starfighter, and that version is enormous comparatively speaking, with 676 pieces and even came with a 4x4 printed astromech dome, which should give you some idea as to the scale of this one. Unfortunately, no minifigures came with it though, as was more typical in early UCS sets. Then 7 years later, in 2017, we got the truly spectacular Jedi Starfighter with hyperdrive ring, which came with 814 pieces and 4 minifigures. These included Obi-Wan Kenobi, Jango Fett, young Boba Fett, and R4P17. As amazing as that set is though, it sold at a much higher price point for a playscale set at $99.99, and now that it's no longer sold in stores, you'll have to pay closer to $300 if you want to get it new in box. But that brings us to this one. The 2022 Obi-Wan Kenobi's Jedi Starfighter is a good balance between playability and detail, and comes at a very reasonable price point compared to the last two versions. This model really accomplishes a lot of the same things the original did 20 years prior, which is to say that it is a relatively lower piece count and the kind of price tag that makes it accessible to a much broader and younger audience. The build itself is incomparably more sturdy than the original, which is good news for parents who are considering buying this set, or for people like me who are just clumsy and knock stuff off their shelves all the time. The wings are secured on either side of the hull with a series of Technic pins and connectors, making them both rigid and strong. However, the landing gear to me leaves a little bit to be desired. The front of the ship has a leg that can be adjusted using these locking hinge pieces, but the entire stern is balanced on a single 2x2 round plate mounted under a couple of inverted slopes. Now, to be fair, a similar design was used on the rear landing gear for the 2017 model. I just prefer a wider stance and back like we see in the original, because that way it's less susceptible to tipping. For weapons, the Jedi Starfighter uses 2 of the newly designed stud shooters, which hold these 1x1 studs sideways and tend to feel a little bit taller than their predecessors, but in this case they don't look too obtrusive. There's a turntable on the port side where you can mount the astromech dome and rotate it like you see in the movies, and we also get a small radar dish which you can use to recreate the scene where Obi-Wan broadcasts his message about the cloning facilities on Kamino back to the Jedi Council. Finally, the minifigures are probably one of the coolest parts of this entire set. First off, we get a full new version of R4P17, and his body can be stored inside the ship when it's not in use. A brand new Episode 2 version of Obi-Wan Kenobi, which comes with both hair and a hood, and 2 different face printings depending on if he's inside the ship or out of it. And at long last, the very first Kaminoan minifigure, which features a spectacular new molded head, as well as detailed front and back printing on the torso and dress pieces. As I said before, the level of detail on this ship is very impressive considering the price point and the number of pieces, and LEGO has come an incredibly long way from the days of 2002 and what parts were available to them back then. The only thing that I didn't enjoy quite so much with this set was there were 15 stickers to apply, which to me is quite a lot. Now, all of them made sense and they all look very good, but I think it makes you really miss the days when everything was completely printed and you didn't have to worry about applying stuff like that. All in all though, this is a great set. It is well designed, sturdy, functional with the lightsaber underneath and the place for the droid to go inside, and it just looks good. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this kind of content, hit that button to subscribe.